John, I wasn't sure how the home opener would feel. No Cat, Julius Randle having a tough opening game. You know, I was very curious to see what the vibe would be. I found the vibe to be really good overall. I want to get your thoughts on that. And this fascinating week coming up, the Timberwolves playing Mavericks, Nuggets, and Wemby all in the same week. It should be a blast. Let's get John's thoughts here on the Jon Krawczynski Show. John, of course, the writer for The Athletic, been covering the Timberwolves pretty much his entire life. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune. This is our basketball show at TalkNorth.com. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. Want to thank our many fine sponsors, starting with Princeton's Liquors, True Vision Institute, TSR Injury Law, HEADFLYER Brewing, and Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line. Reminder, we are planning a first live show of this season at HEADFLYER Brewing, November 19th at 7 p.m. We'll give you more details as we acquire them, but I would just recommend getting there early. These things tend to pack the place. They're a blast, and you don't have to have a perfect seat to enjoy it, but you might want to get there early enough to secure a seat. So look forward to seeing everybody out there. It's been a blast doing those shows. All right, John, your impression of the home opener and the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, Jim, the thing that really struck me, and you were there, man, that place was fired up.
It was.
Like, I mean, you know, one of the cool things that I wrote about this morning at The Athletic, just kind of in a little smorgasbord of observations of the first 3 games, was that, you know, Julius Randle gets out there at the start, before the game starts, to address the crowd, say, hey, thanks for coming. We're going to work hard for you this year. Looking forward to playing, kind of like a welcome to the season little address to Target Center. And as soon as he gets on the mic and is introduced, he's a standing ovation. The crowd kind of drowns him out, and he has to wait for the energy to subside. And then he gives his little spiel. And then in the first quarter, especially when they played really well, I mean, it was playoff-like atmosphere. Like, so you can just feel in general just, an enthusiasm and an energy for the team that is certainly unique in my 21 seasons covering the beat. And so I think, you know, we'll get into a bunch of stuff, but just like the overwhelming thought I had was like, man, these people are into it. They're ready to go. And you can just you can feel that, you know, the love for basketball and for this team, just emanating through it. And I think the team it was fueled by that, you know, that early start was just like how into it the crowd was.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think we've gotten past, I know Timberwolves management wish we'd gotten here faster, but I think we've gotten past even looking back at the battle days and comparing where this franchise is now to the battle days. Now it's just a good time. Now it's just, they've been good for a number of years now. They look like they're really stable, and we'll talk about the ownership thing later, but I'm talking about basketball management, the business side management. You know, it just feels like, and I live in downtown Minneapolis. I see Wolves here all over the place, much more than I see any other teams. Finch lives in Minneapolis and walks around and says hello to people, and you see him out for lunch sometimes. I mean, it's an incredible vibe right now.
It is. So it's really fun. And you could tell that for Julius, as kind of the new guy, you hinted at, you kind of touched on it, Jim. He did not play well in the first game, played great against the Kings. But I do think, like, you know, one thing that if there's an overarching basketball theme to the first 3 games of the season, it just became really clear to me, especially while I was in LA, you know, after that Laker game, that we kind of look at in this sort of transaction fueled league that we cover, a trade happens and we sort of just gloss over all of the machinations that need to happen for a human being to move across the country from one city to another, meet an entirely new group of people, new coaches, new players, new organization, new media and all that, and then play basketball as if you haven't just met these guys a few weeks ago. And I think that because this trade was very unexpected by all parties involved, no one really thought that this was going to happen right before training camp. And then B, kind of, there's just this process of moving and getting settled and figuring each other out. And I think that's what is happening right now with the Timberwolves, with Julius Randle, with Dante DiVincenzo, with even like Rudy Gobert and Ant, and everyone just kind of getting used to these new faces and not having Cat around anymore. I just think that this is a team that is in transition right now, and they are still searching for the right feel. Chris Finch is looking for the right rotations and lineup combinations. Julius is trying to figure out how to space around Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is trying to figure out where to set screens that help Julius get open. And Dante DiVincenzo is figuring out how to run an offense in addition to getting his own shot. So there's so many things that are just like right now in the way of this group. And they're muddling through and they're slogging through it. And the Kings win was a really good win. The Raptors win was fine. They had really good periods of time and then some really kind of underwhelming periods. And so I think we're going to just see this experimentation kind of carry forward, let's say, through the next several weeks. And I do think that Julius Randle getting that reception from the fans was really important. I think that it warmed his heart a little bit. I think it made him feel welcome. It made him feel like he's a part of this organization, even though he's replacing a guy who was here for 9 years and did a lot of really good things and is well thought of in the community. So that was a nice moment for him to get that. And it just kind of underscores that, yeah, these guys are still trying to figure each other out.
Yeah, no doubt. And sometimes I'm guilty as a writer because, I care about access. I care about conversations. Sometimes I'm guilty of overemphasizing, those things. And it's because they matter to me as, doing my job. But I was also really struck by just, the level of detail Finch went into, before that home opener, talking about, how his relationship with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, what he wants from him, how he gets out of him. Listening to Julius Randle talk after the game, listening to DiVincenzo, boy, the basketball IQ on that guy. There are a lot of really good vibes around that team right now. And, and just between the organized interviews, standing around listening to Mike Conley talk to people, the way he talks, that is a good locker room.
It's a really good locker room. I've certainly covered a lot of them over the years. And the kind of the leadership in there is really good. I think the way that Ant sort of as the face of the franchise just makes everything light in there helps. Certainly having Mike Conley as the temperature, the thermostat, I would say, and of that locker room, and being able to kind of just navigate that whole thing and figure out, who needs to be talked to in different ways is great. And I have been a little bit surprised, kind of to your point, Jim, of like how quickly it does seem like the new guys have, at least from a personality standpoint, really started to fit in with this team. And maybe that's an indication of the overall culture of the group in terms of being a welcoming environment. I mean, Finch is an open door coach. He's very communicative. And then you have, I think, generally a group of guys who really want to win badly. And you can feel that kind of urgency and that almost desperation with like Mike and Rudy, who are, a little bit later in their careers. And then the hunger from like Ant and Nas and Jaden and those guys. And it's a real nice mix. And so, there were so many times over the years where a player would get traded here and they would just be miserable coming here because they're coming into a miserable situation. The team's losing. There is no direction. Oh, and by the way, it's really cold here and all of that stuff. There's not many people in the arena. And now all of a sudden you're coming to like a real environment, a real infrastructure, a team that does know what it wants to do and how to get there, that does have a little bit of a track record of success. And now it does have, an entire kind of market behind it. And there's energy in the building. And it's just like an enormous difference from 6-7 years ago and what this team had to go through. And so I think it's easier for a guy like Julius Randle or Dante DiVincenzo to come here knowing that you're getting traded to a team that has aspirations to go to the finals and that has actually done a few things recently that says those aspirations are not ridiculous. And so they're coming in. They have been welcomed, but also they fit in with the way that they want to do things. And it's just been a really good mix that way so far. On the court, it's going to take a little time to iron out those wrinkles, to figure things out. But in the locker room and sort of behind the scenes, there are very good vibes that way.
All right, let's get to the basketball. I really want to highlight what a week of basketball it's going to be here. Before we get to that, though, tell us about Princeton's Liquors.
Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Bill Princeton was in the building, I believe, on Saturday night for the home opener. He was an intern for the Wolves and Lynx back in the day, wore the Crunch costume, but has really kind of taken up the family business and been in it for decades. The Princeton Liquors is a well-known name, especially in the northern suburbs. But what you want, if you're looking for great craft beer selections, if you're looking for great bourbon selection, Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove is the place to go. They have everything that you need in the spirits, the wine and beer family, anything that you want. But if you are particularly a craft beer aficionado, if you are a bourbon expert and want to kind of geek out on some great bourbons, go to Princeton's Liquors, and they will have anything and everything that you could want. Top shelf, really impress your in-laws types of bourbons, some really unique, hard to find craft beers, that will kind of separate you from the crowd when you're showing up at holiday parties and things like that. But go to Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove, stop by, tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you.
I also want to hear about your experience with True Vision Institute.
I'm back in the arena. Bunches of people are all around, and I've gotten a lot of really nice comments and just like, hey, you're not wearing your glasses anymore. And I tell them that, yep, I went to True Vision in Bloomington, truevision.com, and finally got LASIK surgery. It's something that I'd been thinking about for a long, long time. And this summer I finally did it. And it's just, it's a life-changing experience. The people at True Vision are so helpful. They are so inviting and welcoming. They are incredibly knowledgeable. There is no pressure on you if you go in for a consultation to see what types of vision correction are available for you. And if you do decide to go the LASIK route, if it is determined that that's a viable option for you, the people at True Vision and Dr. Chu himself were just absolutely above and beyond in helping me get through procedure and get to the other side of wearing contacts and glasses. I do not have to mess with contacts anymore. I still get to the point where I'm crawling into bed at night and I reach and try and take my glasses off and I don't have them. And I just laugh because my life is so much more convenient. It is so easy. You do the procedure. By the next morning, you are seeing absolutely clearly and feeling great. And the people at True Vision will take care of you. So go to truevision.com, set up your appointment, go in, get it checked out, and see if you can do what I should have done 10 years ago. truevision.com.
I just saw a TV ad with our friend Steve Terry talking about TSR injury law, and somebody in the background yelling, they don't want to listen to you, they don't want to watch football. And Steve just keeps it really short. So I'll do the same thing here. If you're injured, if you need help, just call 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. You will receive a higher level of representation. You will thank them later. They will not charge you unless they win your case, and they win lots of cases. TSR Injury Law, 612-TSR-TIME. So, as a general columnist, I spent a lot of my fall writing about football, and there are years where I look at the other sports, the winter sports that are just starting up during football is just kind of stuff you dabble in. I don't feel that way about the Timberwolves all this year. I think that they are, if they're not 1A, they're 1B in the sports marketplace right now, along with or slightly behind the Vikings, just because the Vikings have, they have the legacy that they do. But man, home opener, unveiling Randall and DiVincenzo, and then Mavericks, Nuggets, and Wemby. That's something.
It's a great, a great home stand just to kind of really get everyone into the season. What I think we had been lacking in this town and with this team over the years is just that meaningful regular season games. I mean, everyone wanted, the long playoff drought to end. Everyone wanted to get to the Western Conference Finals like they did last season. But to me, one of the great advantages or boosts of having a team like the Timberwolves have right now is that this 82 game season, which is too long, I wish they would chop it down to 60 or 65 games or whatever. But we have 82 games. And so sometimes it can feel like, man, does it really even matter? Especially if your team is just not very good at all. But to have games that even in late October, early November are meaningful, it's great stuff. And, it's such a different vibe walking into Target Center thinking, man, we're going to see two really good teams go at it, or we're going to see like megawatt stars matching up against each other. I just think that kind of atmosphere is just intoxicating, really. And the Timberwolves, to their credit, thanks to Chris Finch and Tim Connolly and kind of the way that they have set this whole thing up, is they take the regular season seriously. They're not load managing a whole lot. Mike Conley might get some nights off here or there, or, they might dial back a few minutes here or there. But in general, this team really goes at you every single night. And so I do think that, yes, all of these games are going to be competitive. There's going to be energy. The Wolves players care about the outcome of these games and want to use these as tests, litmus tests for where they are and where they can go. And so, I mean, it just lines up to be one after another, banger after banger. I can't wait for it.
Do you think there's any extra edge for the Wolves going against the Mavericks? It's the easiest thing in sports to feel like a game like that is a revenge game. Do you think the Timberwolves will think of it that way?
You know what? I do think that they have something to prove. And would a win on Tuesday, negate the kind of the wipeout that they suffered in the Western Conference Finals? No, it was nothing even close to that. But I do think that the Wolves believe that they that they did not play their best, that they did not represent themselves the way that they should have in that series. And so I do think that when Dallas comes in, this is going to be kind of a measuring stick game. Dallas went out and made some really good moves in the offseason, got Klay Thompson, got Najee Marshall. They might be better than they were last year. And the Wolves are going to want to look at this as a way to say, hey, we're going to be in this too. And if they lose, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be. If they win, it doesn't mean that they're going to the NBA Finals. But it does. I think you will sense when they take the floor that there's going to be a bit of an edge. And like, hey, we did not acquit ourselves well in that series, and we want to show that this is a different team that may be more well equipped to play against the Mavericks.
Let's get to the Nuggets next. I do want to let you know that we are doing that live show November 19th, 7 p.m. at HEADFLYER Brewing. What else is going on at HEADFLYER Brewing these days?
Just like this is the perfect time of year to go to HEADFLYER Brewing. It's always a good time to go, but we have fall. We're getting great weather right now. Showing up on a weekday night for a little happy hour, going on the weekends, catching some football, catching some basketball or hockey on their big screen TVs, flat screen TVs in the tap room, with the windows open and a little cool fall breeze kind of floating through. There's nothing better than it. But the best reason of all to go, as usual, to HEADFLYER is they just have wonderful beer. Any kind of beer that you could want, they have. And my personal favorite is Wicked Jump Shot. I've been drinking it for years. But there's so many others. They have really friendly bartenders and servers. They have just a super welcoming environment. Bring your dogs, hang out, play some board games that they have there. There's usually either food trucks or you get pizza delivered, all of that kind of stuff. But it's just a great place to hang out, spend some time with friends, with coworkers, with family, and just, take in a game and have a couple of great beers at HEADFLYER in Northeast Minneapolis.
And now let's hear about Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line. By the way, do we have a Twitter question today?
We do. We'll have it at the end of the show here. A couple of good ones that came in, but sglambchops.com is the place you want to go for the best casual wear that you're going to find. Hoodies, sweatpants, t-shirts, hats, anything like that you can wear at home on the weekends, kicking back, watching games, or you can feel good about wearing out in the North Loop on a Friday night or a Saturday night, hanging out with your friends, having a couple of drinks and just being social as well. The good guys, Craig and Jordan at Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing, they just, they're always out and about. You'll see them courtside at Lynx and Timberwolves games. They're part of this community. And if you put the promo code JONK20 in at sglambchops.com, it will get you 20% off any of your purchases at Lamb Chops Clothing. I love their shorts. I love how their high quality fabrics that they use for their shirts, their hoodies, and everything like that. It's going to last you a long time, and you're going to look good for a very long time when you wear Lamb Chops Clothing. sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off your purchase there.
And I am an airhead, so if I forget to prompt you on the Twitter question, please remind me when we get there. We talked about the Mavericks and the obvious challenges there. I'm interested in your thoughts on the Nuggets. The Wolves, the signature victory in franchise history in that Game 7 coming back. Are the Nuggets as formidable as they were even a year ago today?
Yeah, I mean, similarly, Jim, to the Wolves, but I mean, even maybe more so, I would say. Like, it looks like the Nuggets so far early on in this season are trying to find some kind of identity. They obviously have Jokic, reigning MVP, best player in the league, but they've lost a couple of key guys over the last couple of years. Bruce Brown a couple of years ago, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope this last year. And those were key contributors on very, very good teams. And so they're trying to replace them with younger guys, with Julian Strawther, with Christian Brown, with Peyton Watson, with guys who I think have potential, but certainly have not yet shown that they can be reliable. And then you add Russell Westbrook into the mix off the bench, and there's always sort of a period of acclimation for teams who bring him in that have to try to figure out, okay, how do we play with this guy? What's gonna happen here? And the early results have not been good. They're not shooting the ball well. They're losing games. Their bench once again seems to be a big problem. Michael Porter Jr. isn't playing very well right now. They're a really good team. They can snap out of it at any moment. But yes, I think that the team that comes into Minneapolis on Friday night, unless they figure some things out this week in their games, they're going to be a team that is not the same formidable Denver Nuggets that we're used to. It just looks like a team that is not really having a whole lot of fun and that is grinding through like that early portion of the season and trying to find themselves. And so if the Wolves can jump on them and keep them down, that would be a key home win against a division opponent that probably will figure things out as the season goes along. But if you get them when they're scuffling, you want to keep them scuffling.
And when will the Spurs become, obviously Wemby's already a force in the league. When do you think the Spurs become a force in this league?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think they're still probably a year or two away, but the dangerous thing about facing the Spurs is that there's going to be nights where Wembanyama just is like an otherworldly, I'm taking this whole thing over and there's nothing you can do about it type of a game. And he's that talented. He is that unique. And so there are going to be games throughout this season where the Spurs just beat better competition because Wemby is that good. And then maybe a couple of their role players have good nights. And, they beat Houston on Saturday. That's a really good win. Lost to the Mavericks in the season opener. They play Houston again on Monday night. We're recording this on Monday, so we'll see what happens. But this is a team that, through the sheer force of Wemby's skill level, is going to be dangerous every single night. And so, that you can no longer go into games against the Spurs like you could have the last year or two and say, we got this. This is going to be no problem. You better go in there and say, we're not going to get embarrassed, because if you're not up for it, Wemby will kill you. And so, I still think though they have several moves to make to just bolster the lineup around him and make it fit with him a little bit better. But man, he is so good already in this young career for him.
What are the early returns on Cat in New York?
So first game, much like the Wolves and the Lakers, where the Timberwolves really struggled. The Knicks looked terrible against Boston, just got bombed out of the arena, and it did not go well. They since have started to show a little bit more and kind of like really make it kind of look like, okay, this is more of the team that we expected. They played the Pacers on Friday and just blew them out. It wasn't even close. Cat played well. Mikal Bridges, Brunson, everyone really clicked in. They have the Cleveland Cavaliers on Monday night, which will be interesting. Another really good team. And then they go on the road for a little while. So we'll see how it goes. But you can definitely see through the first two games that they are trying to also figure out Cat, especially defensively. I think that, the offense is not going to be a problem. That's going to click in and take care of itself. But them trying to figure out how to best work together defensively, whereas Cat is not the rim protector that they're kind of used to playing with like a Mitchell Robinson. And so he's a different kind of defender. I've said it before. He can be a very good defender. But it's just going to take a little time to incorporate and adjust to that. And you can see the Knicks trying to figure that part of it out. And so, I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be really good this year. But like the Timberwolves, I think this early portion of the schedule, the first month or so, there's going to be some feeling out, and there's going to be some nights where you look at it and like that didn't go well. So it's going to take some time for them, but they'll be okay. I'm
really interested to see how Dillingham plays with this group. It's a team that could use a pure backup point guard that wants to push pace. He seems like an ideal fit. How far away do you think he is from playing or contributing?
Yeah, it's a good one. And we can even like kind of piggyback onto the Lamb Chops question of the week as well with this, because Jake Anderson asked the same thing. It's just like, he says, Rob Dillingham has not seen the floor the first 3 games of the season. Instead, Joe Ingles has filled that 9th spot in the rotation. When do you think there will be a rotation change? And I think the answer to that right now is not anytime soon. Chris Finch talked at the start in training camp and in the preseason about wanting to have a 10-man rotation. And that would seemingly open a spot, whether it's Dillingham, whether it's Josh Minott, Terrence Shannon Jr., there would be, kind of some minutes there for one of the younger guys. But what we have seen so far in these first 3 games is that Chris Finch is understanding that even the top 8 guys that he's working through right now, and Joe Ingles has played, but very sparingly, so he's been like an 8+, 8.25 player rotation. He really wants to maximize kind of the playing time for those top 8 to let them figure each other out. Let, Naz Reid and Julius Randle play together. Let Dante DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Mike Conley play together, and let everyone sort of find their rhythm that way before I think he starts to introduce some of the younger players who need more seasoning. I think that the way that Chris Finch has talked about Rob Dillingham so far, and the one kind of time that really sticks out is after the preseason finale against Denver. He gave a very kind of tepid sort of evaluation of where Rob Dillingham is at. And again, he's 19 years old. No one expects him to be a finished product right now. He's going to struggle through a little bit. But really what it said to me is the way that Chris Finch sort of termed it, said to me that he doesn't quite trust Rob Dillingham to be in regular rotation minutes right now. I think there's a good argument to be made that Josh Minott deserves some time in the rotation, maybe over Ingles, but Ingles played pretty well the other night against Portland, and Finch said that he's actually going to look for ways to lengthen Ingles minutes as kind of the next step in solidifying a rotation. And so it does not appear that Dillingham is on the cusp of getting out there. And so it will be interesting to see once will he get any G League minutes? I'm not sure. Like at first I thought there's no way. Like he's going to play. Like they have kind of said that they want him to play and get up to speed. But right now, Chris Finch seems to be leaning very much more into his veterans and wanting them to click in first. And then hopefully, I think the idea would be to have kind of a top 8 with a real feel for each other. And then you sprinkle in Dillingham or Shannon or Minot or a few of these other guys so that when they do come in, they're coming into an environment that is more organized, that has an idea of how to play together, and maybe that they can help a young guy along in that situation. But Finch does not look like he sees many opportunities for Rob Dillingham right now.
I will say Ingles knows how to play with Gobert, and he fits in terms of ball movement and giving them a functional big for depth. You know, I know he's not the most exciting signing or player at this stage in his career, but he does know how to play with this roster, it looks like.
I mean, yeah, that's certainly the argument for giving him minutes is that, yes, he's played with Rudy. I mean, he threw him a lob the other night. I think I really wanted to see something from him in that game against Portland because you know, one thing that when he in his minutes the first 2 games against the Lakers and the Kings, like he hadn't done anything, and that could be another new face trying to figure things out, seeing where he fits in. But for a player of his age, I think it's important for him to play well and to kind of show what he can do, get out there and get a rhythm going, because when he is on the floor and playing well, he is an asset because he can shoot from long range and he knows how to pass it to Rudy and get him involved. Those are 2 very important things for what the Timberwolves want to do. They just have to make sure that the minutes that they give to Joe Ingles are going to be well utilized, because if they are not, and then it's also coming at the expense of a Minot or a Dillingham or someone like that, that's a double kind of whammy. So I believe that Finch sees Joe Ingles as kind of a Kyle Anderson light. And we know that Finch loved Kyle Anderson. So I think he's going to stick with Joe Ingles for a while and really give him every opportunity to become a part of this rotation and really earn those minutes and play well. And I just think that some of the younger guys are going to have to be patient and wait for their moment. That will eventually come, but it's not going to be coming right at the start of this season.
Let's get a final thought from John. Once again, thanks to everyone who listens. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We want to thank Princeton's Liquors, True Vision Institute, TSR Injury Law, HEADFLYER Brewing, and Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing Line. Thanks to everyone who listens. Remember, we have great shows across the sports and outdoor spectrum. Russo and LaPanta on hockey, Gorg on hockey, the Bar Down Beauties on hockey, Randy Shaver's new high school football show, which is also available on YouTube, and it's a big hit. Mike Grimm on Gophers, Jeff Diamond on the Vikings, John and I are on the Vikings at the Viking Update Show, John Millay on Preps, Roy Smalley, Lavelle Neal, myself on the Twins, Don Mitchell's General Sports Talk and Interview Show, which highlights women's sports, but also goes a lot of different directions, and outdoor content. Check it all out. We do appreciate it. All right, John, final thought for the day.
Yeah, just one final thought on just the first 3 games. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker's played great for them. And that was obviously a big-time thing for me to see, because I looked at the way that he was playing in the preseason and thought, hey, here he is in kind of a contract year. He's trying to be point guard, trying to be Mike Conley's backup. And is that really the best way for him to go about it? Does that fit his skill set? And he just did not look comfortable at all. But he has looked really good in the regular season. He's knocking down shots. He's making plays. He's being what he usually is defensively. And Chris Finch gave a great answer, and you alluded to it earlier, Jim. But he just said that Nickeil came in determined to try and believe that what the Timberwolves needed most out of him was a backup point guard. And Instead, I think with the way that DiVincenzo has established himself and the other options, Julius Randle can handle the ball and initiate. You have Ant, you have all these other options. It has taken some of the pressure off of Nickeil to be that guy. And now because he's playing without any pressure on himself, he's just able to be free and go about it. And so that's been a very encouraging thing to me. While the other, guys are clearly looking to establish themselves and just kind of get back on the same page, Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been just what he was last year, and that's a good development for the Timberwolves.
Good stuff, John. It's going to be a blast of a season. Looking forward to seeing everybody at HEADFLYER Brewing on November 19th. We'll talk to you next week.